Today, I am joined by Ryan Koral. He owns a video production company, Tell Studios, and he also owns a company that teaches filmmakers how to grow their businesses, Studio Sherpas. So, Ryan, tell me a little bit about both of these companies and a little bit about yourself, just to kind of summarize and jump in here.
All right, Adam, thank you for having me on this show. Super fun to be together like this. Tell Studios is our video production brand that I started 17 years ago. How long ago did you start your production business?
I think it was about 21 years ago, 2000 to 2001. Yeah,
I'm old. So my passion is telling stories, right? We love getting to the heart and soul of a brand and really making that real for people, making a brand like relatable and authentic. And so typically that means just sitting with a founder and getting them to tell their story. Like, why did they start this business? Why did they sell this product or this service? And really getting to that heart, because for most people that get into business, they don't get into it because they want to build a massive company and make a ton of money. It's because they feel like they can change the world with this product or service in small or great way. And that's why most people get started. So hearing those origin stories, I think it's pretty meaningful, and it helps you connect with your ideal audience. When somebody has a couple of different options to choose from, if there's any personality that they connect with, that is typically who they're going to go with. So, we've, similar to you, we've been able to travel the world and meet incredible people and tell awesome stories. And, we've got a really, really talented team. We're based in Detroit, Michigan. And, it's been so much, it's been challenging for sure running a business for this long. It is not all rainbows and unicorns, but it is so fulfilling and really, really, my life's been impacted, and it's been cool to see how we've been able to help a lot of people along the way. And then about 6 years ago is when I started formally educating filmmakers. You and I were part of the speaker at different video events, and that's where we met forever ago. I was spending so much time, especially here in Michigan. We had a monthly meeting with filmmakers, and then I became the president of this association. And at some point, we had a couple of kids, and my wife and I were having conversations, and I was like, man, I am so passionate about this industry and about education, but it's really hard because I don't get paid anything. And if there was a way to get paid to do this, I would do this in a heartbeat. And so that's kind of where the seed was planted, and I just started dreaming about what that might look like. And that's really where Studio Sherpas was born. Matt Davis, our mutual friend, he helped me start it way back when. And so, yeah, I've got a weekly podcast, and I host an in-person event, which is actually coming up here pretty soon, to gather, a couple of dozen corporate and commercial filmmakers from around the globe. Really, really grateful for those opportunities, and really just to share what's worked for me in my video production business and what hasn't, and to be totally open and honest about all the things that I've learned. I love business. I love the business of production and sharing that stuff. So I feel super thankful to be able to be in a position where not only do I have a production company, but I'm also able to help others grow and scale their production companies. And so this year we've got, we're at almost 30 people that are going to be attending, and we've got sessions for 2.5 days. We've got activities in the evening, and really it's just it's an opportunity for people to get away from working in the business and for them to be able to start working on the business and ask other filmmakers, other people in this industry, what's working for you, what's not, where are you headed, what things are you trying, what has failed. So they're not just hearing from me, they're hearing from each other. And I remember at the very first event, I had stepped away. It was during lunch or something. And I just remember looking into our studio. We've got these windows that look into the production studio, and people were grabbing lunch here in the kitchen. And I'm just looking around, and all of these little conversations. It was almost hard to hear because of all of the conversations that were happening. And that was just a really cool moment for me. Man, I played a part in making this happen. The event is October 2nd through the 5th, and it's at our studio, which is Metro Detroit area. It's in a little town called Orion Township, and we're hosting it at our studio. And we're doing a bunch of events around there. We've got Patrick Moreau, our mutual friend from Muse Storytelling, who is coming to present for a couple of days, and a few other filmmakers, and then some really, really gifted brand strategists and marketers that I'm just connected with, and they're coming to share some amazing stuff. So it's going to be super fun. Information, you can find out more. If you can't make it this year, then make sure that you at least hop on the wait list, but you can get all the information at onwardsummit.com. That's onwardsummit.com.
That's great. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So you said something earlier, about why we do what we do and what we start businesses. And this can go for any business. We both happen to be in the video industry, but you could say this for any industry. And that is, I always break business down into three different boxes, which is, sales and marketing, your money coming in, your operations, which is essentially, you making your widgets, your service, your product, your things like that. And then, finance and analytics at the end, so almost like the output, right? We all seem to start businesses because we fall in love with that thing we do, which is essentially the operations. Yeah. Tell me, what could you tell me about the balance of a business owner starting a business and really kind of losing sight of other important aspects like sales, marketing, finance, and things like that when they're just focused on operations?
Yeah. Oh man. Well, there's a lot in there. Do we want to talk about where our current sales funnel is at? I took 6 weeks this summer. I worked 6 days over the course of 6 weeks. And since I'm responsible for our sales and marketing, oh boy, did we take a dip into coming out of the summer. And so that's, I'm not really a part of our production. So that was something I realized early on. If I was going to scale this business to where I didn't have to be the central cog, like I needed to find other people that could shoot, and I needed to find other people that could edit. And, editing was like the most labor intensive thing. So looking high and low for somebody that could help offset some of my time, so I wasn't having to edit so stinking much. That was incredibly helpful. And, so today, I'm really like visionary for the business, trying to strategize and think, what do we need to do next? And, kind of like in the past where I might have spent so much time in production and not spent time building out our sales funnel. Here I am today, like reaping some of the rewards of not having to be in the production. But really like being the one responsible for sales and marketing. And it's like, hey, you can take 6 weeks off, but like who is working the funnel? Who's getting new leads? Who's nurturing those leads? And we're able to, fortunately, like our team can sell like to past clients because we kind of, they know the process, and my team can budget and all that stuff. But for new work, that falls on me, baby. So yeah, it's been a struggle this season right now as I'm like getting back in the swing of things. Kids are finally back in school, so I feel like I've got bandwidth now, and we don't have umpteen vacations planned. And I'm this is probably like the fourth time in my career where I'm just like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Why did I think that this would be a good idea? So yeah, that's been a challenge.
It's a huge accomplishment because you started in operations, right? Yeah. You're the filmmaker. You were the filmmaker. So, how did you even make that jump from, I'm the guy doing the work to I'm going to separate myself, find other talented people to do that work? Maybe there was a process and a system and a Ryan Koral method to the madness. And, and then you were able to leave that and grow another part of the business, the E-Myth, work on your business instead of work in your business. Yeah. It sounded like you made a major move in the right place by doing that. How did you even pull that off? Because that's not easy to do.
Well, I'm very thankful when right before I started my business, I had a good friend of mine who was starting a business of his, and I was kind of along for the ride, and I was just trying to help throw out ideas. And I forget who suggested the book, The E-Myth, but I had read that, and I was like, oh man, this makes so much sense. And then right after reading that was when the opportunity kind of opened up for me to start my own business. And so from the very beginning, I had this idea of like, oh, I can have a business, and I have to like label all of the different positions, even though I'm the one that, is going to have to do all of the positions. So those seeds were planted right before I started this business. And I hung on to those because my vision for my business was like, I wanted my business to support my life. I wanted freedoms in my family. My wife and I didn't have kids at the time. We were newly married, and I wanted to be able to take long vacations, and I wanted to just know that like the business would run and that I wouldn't have to be this center cog that gets in the way of things happening or stopping things from happening. So when we were filming events, I realized pretty quick that I needed somebody to help film. I needed a second camera there. And so then I had a couple of friends that I just kind of twisted their arm and said, hey, can you help? And so, that was my first experiment, was like hiring friends to see if they could do this. And I would create like little documents like, hey, here's the checklist for gear. And then, hey, here's the shot list. Make sure you're getting these shots. And as I got more and more experience, those processes became more refined and clearer and better. And then eventually I got to a point in my business where I was just slammed. We had a ton of weddings, and I was booked for the entire summer. But then after the summer, we would have so much editing, and I wasn't finding the time to be able to sell that I needed. I needed to meet with all of these couples, and I'm like, I don't know where to find this time. And my wife was like, hey, remember me? We're married, and we should spend time together. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm trying to get out of this crazy thing that I built. So I felt like I just needed to hire another one of me. And I remember in doing that, one of the very first things that I had done, because back when we would deliver DVDs, the process to burn a DVD, to prep, to burn, print on if you're printing on DVDs, and then if you're doing fancy cases or anything, like all of that whole process was, so labor intensive. And if something went wrong along the way, you're having to start from square one. And man, that was the biggest headache. And so I created a step-by-step procedure to burn and duplicate DVDs, and I gave that to my first employee, and that freed me up. And that's really, really when I became addicted to trying to find what are the things in this business that are taking so much time of mine. Because I can burn DVDs, and I think I do a pretty good job at it, but man, I think that other people could do this as good or maybe better. And even if they can't do it better, the fact that I won't have to do it will free me up to be able to do things that really drive revenue in the business, but also don't suck the life out of me. That was very important to me to not do things in my business that were just incredibly draining, which I think, so many business owners end up doing all the things. We had a new furnace installed we hired a guy who's like a mutual friend, and after the job was done, he had a couple of guys here, but he was here and he's fielding phone calls the whole time and working in the evening. And I sent him a text actually just the other night. I was like, hey, what should we change this air filter? I sent it at 10 p.m. and he responded. I'm just like, oh, dude. But I had asked him when he was here, I said, hey, why don't you have an assistant that is calling people like me for their payment, following up? And he's like, oh, it only takes a couple of minutes. And I'm like, yeah, but you have so many clients, in a couple of minutes times all these clients a week, a month, over the course of a year, that's hours and hours and hours of time. And unless you get really excited about calling a client and telling them they owe you money, you should really find someone that even for 2 hours a week that would be their one job, their one task. And he was like, that's a pretty good idea. He had never broken it down that simply before, to think that there might be somebody out there that would just want a couple hours a week. And the beautiful thing about the internet is, like, you can find people that they would help you with a 10 or 15 minute task in, if you pay them $5 or $10 or whatever. And that 15 minutes can be so freeing from, all the time and just the energy suck and all of that, to allow you to be able to enjoy your work more and do more of the things that drive revenue. That's
great, man. A lot of great gold in that. And the biggest takeaway for me is process, creating systems, creating process. And, that perfect example about, I wrote this down step by step. I handed it to a new employee, and it must've been eye-opening to, see the result. And like, that's it. That's all I needed to do all this time.
Oh my gosh. It's like, oh, why didn't I do this like so much sooner? But
so this put you in the marketing and sales place. This brought you into, I need to find ways to bring money in so that we can, keep everybody busy. We can keep sending out crews and keep making, video. Yep. So, through that journey, how did you learn what you know today in regards to sales and marketing?
I mean, we tried a lot of different things. I remember when 6 months into doing video, when I started full time, my buddy Jeff, who was a wedding photographer, said, "Hey, got this client Saturday. They need video. You want to shoot a video?" I'm like, "Yeah, $500 this Saturday? Sure. I'm not doing anything. That sounds like $1 million." After that event, I was like, this is what I want to do. This was it just felt amazing. I loved the process. The client loved the product. Being with people on this super important day, I was like, does it get better than this? I was like partying with them. This is like awesome. On the dance floor dancing, like filming and just like, this is great. I'm a 7 on the Enneagram, so I think that pairs well with my personality type. So after this wedding, after this experience, I was like, okay, how do I get more weddings? And somebody said, oh, you should advertise on The Knot. And so that's what I did. I started advertising, and we did that for a couple of years. And then we got to a point in the business where we were charging a lot more than $500 when we had first started. And I had a desire to work with higher end, more luxury type clients, and realized that the way we were positioning ourselves and where we were advertising, online, we just weren't drawing those people in, or at least they weren't the majority of the people that were calling us. So that was when we had to pivot. And so we stopped advertising there. And, back in those days, we had a blog, and we would post, all of our new films there, and share those with our couples and with the families, and try to share those with the bridal party. And, through 17 years of running a business, I've started multiple podcasts and closed multiple podcasts because I'm like, that was fun, but I just still don't think it's the right target market, and I'm not sure I'm bringing the value that I can really bring. And for me, at the end of the day, I think today what I've learned is that if I can offer value, if I can be helpful to my target, to my ideal audience, that's when sales and marketing works. And so I think about different industry events that I've gone to, networking, lunches with people that I would love to work with, people that I just respect, coffees, getting time with people, even over Zoom. Those have been, I think, the most beneficial things that I've done, the way I've invested in my business to get our best sales and to have marketing that actually works. It's been through relationship. And then, in today's day and age, we've got to be online, which is kind of annoying because I would rather just, but the cool thing about the way our business is set up, we can film anywhere. So, it's hard to just think about people in the Metro Detroit area. If that was my entire market, I still think I could have a thriving business. But to say, man, if we went online, what could that look like? Who could we help? Who could we serve if we were online? Just trying to offer value that expands exponentially. And I've been able to, we've been able to travel all over because we have an online presence. So it's not like totally annoying, but the upkeep of that can get a little overwhelming.
What would you say would be one of the biggest mistakes that you made or found in regards to, marketing and selling, bringing in business?
I'm still waiting to make a mistake. Yeah. So I'm just like, not there yet.
You're just that good.
Yeah. Just that good. Yeah. I would say that, and take it or leave it. I don't know if this is a good answer, but I wish that a decade ago, longer than a decade ago, probably 12 or 13 years ago, I wish I would have started a YouTube channel and educated clients like the podcast and the things that I've done in the past 5 or 6 years. I wish that we would have done that forever ago.
Yeah. And it wasn't as saturated back then either. So it would have been.
Wasn't as saturated. And, and that stuff today, like those 10-year-old videos still get views and would really just position us as an expert a long time ago, even though the challenge is like, I don't feel like we've really arrived yet. I don't feel like I've earned the right to teach. So there was a lot of imposter syndrome for me, especially being in the mix of all of these other incredible filmmakers, yourself included in that mix, speaking at events, me watching people that I'm like, wow, they're so talented. I remember content that you put out years ago to educate, potential clients. And I was just like, dang, like here I am trying to, do this. And then I see somebody like Adam and I was like, man, this stuff is like so much better than me. Why am I even trying this? So all of those negative thoughts really impacted me because I did want to do that stuff forever ago. But I didn't believe that I had what it took. And I was listening to lies and things that just weren't true. So my encouragement today, as I've like gotten the courage and just really worked out those muscles of like, I'm just going to do it. One of my favorite lines is, you don't learn until you launch.
You don't learn until you launch.
And for me, like what that means is like, just do it. Like launch the YouTube channel, start the podcast, start a monthly networking breakfast at the studio. It's an experiment. If it doesn't work, if everybody laughs at you and makes fun of you, it's like, okay, well, I'll stop doing it if I don't think I'm being helpful. But if you can, in the context of what do I think would be most helpful for my ideal client, and you come up with something, do that thing. You're not going to know unless you do it, right? I know it sounds cliche, but I think for me, that was one of the biggest mistakes is that I just didn't take the risk, even though it wasn't a risk. Like, what did I have to lose? Like I was more concerned about people in our industry looking at me and being like, dude, your branding's not good. Like, look at your films. They're not nearly as good as Adam's, or you're not as good of a teacher, I mean, but all of those things are things that like popped into my head at some point, which led me to say like, I probably shouldn't do this right now.
It's great. It's really great to hear you say these things because you're a mirror of me. Everything you said, I've felt everything there, exactly the same. And I think one of the coolest things is like we're on here right now and we're just sharing and being vulnerable. And it is just me listening to you say that makes me feel better and more confident about, second guessing. And you always have that, somebody's talking in your ear and you're like, maybe they have a point.
Yeah. Maybe
they're right. Maybe I got to be careful, or I got to worry about, the friends in my industry because they might not approve.
Yeah.
But I love that. I use a term called, it might not be exactly the same because it might have a slightly different meaning, but paint the ship while it sails.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody said that, somebody made that up, but I love that term because it's just like, you can think of an idea and then you can get stuck in analysis paralysis forever, you know?
Oh,
and then
yeah.
And a lot of times people just never even execute.
Right.
It's just an idea and eventually flies away. But if they do what you said, which is just, I have an idea, you know, I put together some of the basics of what I have to do, and I have enough here to just start doing things.
Yeah.
And just do it. There's so much to be learned from that. And, you know, you need to experiment. You need to make mistakes and have little, you know, wins and losses to figure out, you know, what now that I know this, I realize I have to do this. Mm-hmm. This is what but you'd never get there if you didn't start here. Start anywhere.
100%.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like, even if you're in a business for 10 or 20 years, we develop habits and we get comfortable. So I would say, you know, even listening to you respond to what I just shared, and you're like, man, that is freeing for me. You know, the fact that you feel that. Everybody feels that. You know, everybody's experienced imposter syndrome, and everybody's felt like, what are people going to think? And usually it's our peers that we're most concerned about, not the person that we're trying to help, right? Not the education that we're trying to share. That's not who we're nervous about. It's usually like, what are the people that really know me? You know, because they really know me, and they're going to be like, dude, like, really? And like, oh, that's it. And if I step back and just think, like, the people in my life actually care about me. They want the best for me. And those that don't, like, I kind of know who those people are in my life that don't want the best for me, and I don't care. But my encouragement for the people that are very comfortable, you know, with the way that they've done things all of their lives, if there is a nudge, a little like prodding of like, well, but maybe I should maybe I do have something that can be helpful for somebody else. That's really when you just need to think, yes, that's true. It's true, period. Because even if you're just one step ahead of somebody else, you can help them on one step, right? But a lot of times we don't think of ourselves very highly. The voices that we listen to are like, you're an idiot. Like, you did that again. Like, what are you thinking? Like, I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you did that. Like, who do you think you are? Like, those are the things that, like, I've heard those. I heard those voices when I was a little kid, and they came from people that were in my life. And, you know, I grabbed hold of those and carried a lot of those voices with me. And for me, I've been fortunate to surround myself with people that have encouraged me and say things like, hey, dude, like, go ugly early. Like, don't wait. Done is better than perfect. Just do the thing. Like, if you're not doing the thing that you really feel called to do, or you feel that could be a service to the world, and even if it's to one other person, like, you got to do that thing. The world needs you to do that thing.
I love this, man. And I just friend to friend, I just want to let you know that I have so much respect for you. I always have. I admire so much what you've accomplished. Not only your video company and the work you do, which is phenomenal. Thank you. The branding, the website, everything is just top notch. And then the coaching, the teaching, and how many lives and businesses you've touched and have helped people, you know, put food on the table and grow their businesses and provide for their family. I mean, you've been responsible for a lot, and I have so much respect for you, Ryan.
Dude, thank you.
Really cool stuff.
I appreciate that.